Hello and welcome to the second episode of Crosby's 9 Podcasts. It's Drew here, and it's the second episode today. And this is pretty interesting because you will see as we go along, your English will improve. Your English will improve. And how will it improve? By listening, by speaking, with a little bit of grammar, with some vocabulary, with some phrasal verbs, with some expressions, all right, maybe some spelling as well. But we're going to do this in a very unsystematic way. And I say that because language is a funny thing. There's really no special way to learn a language. We know you need to read. We know you need to speak. We know you need to write. We're not going to write on this program. But anyway, welcome to the second episode. And before the podcast today, I was thinking a little bit about the psychological factor as well when you learn a language. And I would argue that the psychological factor of learning a language is just as important as the grammatical part, the grammar, right? The psychological component. Why is that? It's mind over matter. Mind over matter. Matter. M-A-T-T-E-R. I don't say matter. We just say matter, right, in American English. What does mind over matter mean? It means that you can use your brain to succeed. You can use your brain to overcome the fear of speaking, the fear of making a mistake. So use mind over matter with your English. And I'll give you an example. How many people have you met? Well, I'll ask you the question first. How many people have you met whose English isn't very good, but they have this confidence? They have this crazy confidence when they speak in business, in social settings, with their friends. And you think, man, oh man, this person is committing a lot of mistakes. This person is making a lot of mistakes. But he or she doesn't speak very well, but they don't care. Well, that's my point. You shouldn't care. Don't worry about making mistakes. Don't worry about it. If you worry about it, you will never practice your English. And if you worry about it, you will never get better. And we always think that the other person is analyzing us. Oh my gosh, he or she is analyzing me. Oh my gosh, this person must think I'm terrible. Now, granted, if you have an interview in English for your job, you need to do a good job. You need to conduct a proper interview in English, and you need to practice. But practice and practice and practice, and then go to the interview and forget about everything. Just be confident. Because my guess is that the employer will hire you because of your confidence. Your employer, your future employer will say, look, we can train this person to speak better English. This person will grow. This person has confidence. And so, again, it's a psychological component, but it's an extremely important factor when it comes to learning English, the confidence factor. And but anyway, my friend Elena called me last week, and she said, Drew, I had an interview this morning in English, and it went terrible. Well, I know that Elena thinks that way, because she has told me that for years. She doesn't think her English is that great. And I know it's pretty good. But it would be better if she had confidence. It would be better if she had confidence. Can you repeat, please, with me, listeners? Her English would be better if she had confidence. That's the second conditional, right? The second conditional. Her English would be better if she had more confidence. So if you remember one thing from today's podcast, one thing only, just forget about what people think about your English. Forget about it. Don't worry about it. Just speak, make mistakes, and hopefully people will correct you. It depends on the setting, depends on the circumstances. If you are in an English class, of course your teacher should be correcting you all the time. All the time. If not, you're not going to improve. But if you're with your friends, you can ask your friends to correct you, your native friends, your native English-speaking friends, hey, did I say that right? Please correct me. Am I pronouncing that right? Did I pronounce that word right? Okay, so again, you need to just get over it. To get over. It's a good phrasal verb as well. Get, got, gotten. Irregular verb. Get, got. To get over something is basically to overcome something. And you will overcome your fear of speaking simply by doing it. Simply by speaking. So anyway, I told Elena not to worry about it, but she needs to gain confidence when she speaks. So again, just to remind you, in this second episode of Crosby's 9 podcast, we focus on a lot of different areas of the English language. And having taught English for over 20 years, I ask myself, what's the most important part of learning a language? Well, it's listening, right? Well, it's speaking. Well, it's reading. Well, there are so many facets, so many parts that I try to incorporate all of these different elements in the podcasts. Because as soon as you say it's vocabulary, then you say it's listening. And as soon as you say listening, then you say it's speaking. And as soon as you say it's speaking, then you say, yeah, it's listening, but with expressions, but then with phrasal verbs, but then, right? And so we'll look at all of these things. And as I mentioned in the first podcast, in the introductory podcast, I mentioned that we'll also focus on speaking. And it's kind of crazy. You think, well, how can we focus on speaking in a podcast? Just repeat. Just simply repeat. Blah, 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 blah. Imitate me. Think about how kids, little kids, babies, think about how babies learn languages. They simply imitate. They repeat sounds back to their parents. They listen and they repeat. They hear what's happening and they imitate. And that's all you have to do. The problem is, as we become adults, we analyze things too much. We are so analytical. Well, wait a second. Let me repeat that. No, don't think. Don't think about it. Just repeat. And I'll tell you what I like to do, is have people repeat things and they have no clue what they're saying. I have had students in the past, I say, for example, okay, John, Nancy, Mary, whomever, I'll say, look, or Juan or Maria, I'll say, look, please repeat. And I will say, for example, stand your ground. Remember to stand your ground. And they say, what? And I say, don't worry about it. Don't try to understand it. First of all, let's just imitate. Just repeat after me. Stand your ground. You have to stand your ground. You have to stand your ground. And I will slow down as I repeat it. You have to stand your ground. You have to stand your ground. Well, I knew the word stand. I knew the word your. I know the word ground. Stand your ground. Well, the problem with that is those 3 words are simple words, but they are out of context. It's an expression, listeners, just so you know. To stand your ground means basically to maintain your position, to hold your position. I think it's a military term back from the 1700s or something like that. To stand your ground. If you are negotiating a contract and you will not move, you will not change your position, you will stand your ground. But we use it all the time in English. And don't forget one more thing. Stand, stood, stood. It's an irregular verb. To stand your ground. Good expression. Well, listen, that is all the time we have in our second episode of Crosby's 9 podcast. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.